Hey, saltwater anglers, and welcome to the Lower Chesapeake Bay Fishing Report, your local report, whether it's good, bad, or ugly. This podcast is part of the Great Days Outdoors Network, and each week we'll be talking to local experts to learn ways we can become better anglers in our pursuits offshore, nearshore, and inshore. To keep this amazing fishery healthy and thriving for generations to come, remember to protect what you pursue. Summer fishing is fired up with warm water and hungry fish moving into the bay. So let's hear who's making the show possible, and then we'll jump into the reports. Check it out. AFTCO has a gift for our listeners. They're now offering a camo sunglasses cleaner cloth with any purchase of AFTCO products. For cool mornings, I love my Reaper sweatshirt. And on those hot days, my Samurai sun shirt. You just can't beat the quality and performance. All you got to do to get your coupon code is text LCBFR to 779-345-2918 to get subscribed to our email list, and we'll send you the promo code via email. All right, you guys, welcome to this week's show. It's not every day we get to have a new guest on the show. I'm excited to have a new contributor that we've not had on before. You've probably seen him around the bay. He's got a very recognizable name on the side of his boat, Hooks Sport Fishing with Captain Tom. So I'd like to welcome to the show. Welcome, Captain Tom. How are we doing tonight?
Good. How about you?
Doing great, man.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, it's a pleasure. I know we've seen each other in crossing. Our mutual friend Kevin introduced us, and you're out there grinding alongside everybody else, and it's time to get a report from you. But before we jump into any sort of a report, I'd like for our listeners to get to know you a little bit. So, tell us what kind of boat do you run, and what does your charter specialize in?
All right. Well, I'm running a 2024 25 Southern Cross with a 300 Suzuki on it. I have a tower with controls on there. Also have a trolling motor, and we specialize in red drum and cobia, and then in the fall we try to transition into the trout and puppy drum, and then also we'll sprinkle in the blues and Spanish while we're out there looking for red drum and cobia.
Very cool. Yeah, you mentioned you'll be fishing in the Hooked on Hope, hopefully praying for some change in the weather here. But I've been on your type of boat before, and it's a super stable platform. I think it's got like a 10-foot beam on it?
Yeah, so it's got a 10-foot beam, and like before we got on the show, I was telling you I was used to run a 24 Carolina skiff with a tower, and this is definitely an upgrade from there.
Oh yeah, and then you've got the trolling motor as well, so you're kind of outfitted for anything and everything you want to do on that thing.
I mean, honestly, yeah. I mean, I run out to the Windmills all the way to get into a foot of water back here, back in Lynnhaven Inlet and stuff like that. So it definitely suits me well.
Yeah, that's a versatile machine right there. Tell us, so you weren't always a professional fisherman. What have you done in your kind of life up to this point, and then what was the turning point when you're like, you know what, I love fishing so much, I'm going to turn it into a profession?
Well, I mean, I've been a firefighter for 20 plus years. Grew up fishing with my dad and grandfather. They were big, especially my grandfather. He's a big time flounder fisherman, but that was up in like Ocean City, Maryland and stuff like that. So we used to go up there every summer and fish. And then, my dad was big into hunting and fishing, so he was always dragging us out there. Went away to school, came back, became a fireman, and then kind of got away from fishing a little bit, and then moved back here in Little Neck on the water and stuff like that, and then got the bug again, and I'm kind of getting towards the end of my career and decided to make this charter business a professional thing. I've been doing this 3 years now, trying to grow the business, double it every year. And honestly, this year we have done very well, and hopefully this gets better from here.
That's awesome. Well, I think it's great that, we talked to a lot of captains on this show, and each and every one of them is, properly certified, licensed, insured. And, I think it's cool that, your experience as a firefighter, you've got all that life-saving experience, emergency medical, CPR. So, if folks are listening and they're like, I want to make sure I'm safe, or I've got family and, young kids, I'd wager that, probably being on Hook Sport Fishing Boat is one of the safest boats that you could probably put yourself on, all things considered, between the big stable platform and a professional firefighter as your captain. Or at the very least, you should be strong enough to pull somebody out of the water if they fall in.
Yeah, I hope so. Let's not try to do that, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Um, I've only had one situation where somebody, left my boat into the water when they weren't supposed to, and it was actually my dog Fisher, rest his soul, my big golden doodle. Took him fishing one time, and he was so eager to chase the lure. He would watch the lure, and I would cast, and he would watch it, and he'd run up to the front of the boat. And one of the times, he just decided to go ahead and follow it in, and he just jumped off. And 100-pound golden doodle getting yanked back into a boat is hard. But
Yeah.
so tell the listeners, you came up fishing under your grandpa, who was a great flounder fisherman. When did the sight fishing bug kind of catch you, and when did you really start to put the time and effort into becoming an expert at it like you are now?
I would say 7 or 8 years ago when we moved, because I live back here on Little Neck in the water,
Hmm.
and you know, we're like, we got to get a boat. So started that like everyone else, standing on the side gunnel, running over fish, all that good stuff, and was like, we got to get a tower. And then once I started getting that bug, I, there's nothing like it, as you know. I love fishing for those things.
Yeah, I would agree with you, man.
It's just watching them eat. It's presenting the bait, watching them eat, watching them load up on it. It's awesome.
Yeah, it's like the closest thing to hunting on the water that you can do. So if anybody listening is like, "Oh, I love deer hunting or turkey hunting or I like to shoot ducks," it's like it's all about that sort of visual targeting that all comes together. And I feel like cobia fishing and red drum fishing is kind of like the sort of a symphony of all those things coming together because you're on a moving boat and shooting at a moving target, and then you have other environmental factors like, wind and everything else. So it's, you know, uh, quite a level of skill to get proficient at. So you've been doing it for almost 8 years now. You're doing it, as the charter business as part of your, I guess, retirement transition plan. And talk us through like some of your trips here recently. I know we're kind of in the middle of this like northeast blow, so it's kind of questionable whether we get out this week coming up. But tell us about a couple of your recent trips and some catches that you guys have been seeing.
Well, like everyone else this year, Kobe has been kind of hit or miss, and it's been tough. It's been a grind. Our last trip, we did do well. That was last week. Finally found a bunch of bait, and they were kind of hanging around all the pods of bait. And actually, kind of a funny story. Well, not funny because we ended up losing the fish,
Oh
but
no.
it was the biggest fish of the year. Been fight. He was 50 plus pounds. Got him to the boat. I kind of, typical filming for Facebook and, to give to the customer and stuff like that. And I kind of relaxed and was like, phew, thank God we got this fish on the boat. And all I heard was the pole snap. Next thing you know, my mate looks at me and goes, the fish just went through the net. I said, what?
What?
And it was a brand new net too. Put a hole right through the net and he was
Oh.
gone. I was like, yeah, it was not good.
I've only ever seen that happen one time, and it was on my boat actually, but it was a small fish,
Mm,
and it was like he somehow like torpedoed right through the net. I mean, he was like a 42,
yeah.
43 incher. It was definitely not a 50 plus pounder. Yeah, he torpedoed through the net, and I really don't know how on God's green earth my pulled it and snapped, but that's crazy. So inside of the bag of the net, and then boom, net
Yeah, I mean,
breaks.
I told him, yeah, I told him to twist the net, and I saw him starting to pull it over, and then I just relaxed, and next thing you know, he was gone,
Oh.
just that quick.
That's heartbreaking. Was the net beyond repair,
It,
or were you able to like zip tie it back together?
well, and it kind of happened at the beginning of the day, and I'm like, what are we going to do the rest of the day? So my mate was down there tying mono all over it to make sure we could catch fish the rest of the day.
That's that's a tough moment to be in, but definitely puts you into the industrial like, okay, let's figure this out one way or the other. I've actually
Well,
left the dock.
the
What's that?
company's rectifying it. The
Oh,
company's sending me some new stuff, so which is good.
good. Yeah, because that's not supposed to happen. That had to have been some sort of a manufacturing goof up or something along those lines. But
Right.
I've left the dock without a net before, and tried to do the whole fish grip thing and this, that, and the other, and I can definitely attest to the fact that it doesn't work well. Um, so even a
No,
broken
no.
broken net's better than no net at all. Um, but so you were saying you guys saw some bait and found some fish. Were they on the surface, or were you having to? How were you trying to sort of target them, given that it's been so tough to find them right now?
They were actually on the surface that day. Previous trips, we've been soaking baits underneath of them.
Hmm.
Um, the red drum, we've been trying to use the side scan, you know, finding them on there and then soaking baits for them too. So it is nothing like it was last year. Just put it that way.
Yeah, it's definitely been different. The water temperatures. I mean, we were talking about it on last week's show with Captain Austin Hain, just how wildly different it's been. You talk about side scan, how do you I'm not a big side scan user. So when you pull up side scan, like how do you look at it and determine if you're looking at bait or red drum, for example?
Well, honestly, like up on my upper station, I'll be up there, and then my mate will be down on the deck, and I've got like down scan plus side scan down there, and he can see the stuff a little bit better than I can
Hmm.
up top,
Yeah.
and I'll be like, hey, does that look like something? And he'll be like, yeah, that's them, for the
Yeah.
most part. Obviously bigger marks, but then there's times where I thought, hey, there they are, and it's bluefish, a school of bluefish or something
Ah.
like that, which is also, sometimes fun. I mean, I've had my customers doing light tackle, throwing spoons at them. They have a great time doing that too.
Those bluefish out there, I mean, they can get pretty big, right?
Oh yeah, I mean, there's a couple times this year, mid 20s, upper 20s, and on light tackle, it's screaming their line, and they're having a good time.
Yeah, I was gonna say I've gotten in a few times where I've gotten into them good on, light tackle, even on cobia tackle. And I mean, they're fun. They're aerobatic. They're like tarpons. They pull real hard. They run real hard. So I mean, if you're on a charter and you've got, folks that have never really seen, many fish or caught many fish, I mean, that can be an absolute rush for them.
A couple months ago, we had a charter, and we saw a bunch of bluefish busting, and I'm like, all right, give them the poles, start throwing the spoons out there. And I'm like, man, that's not acting like a bluefish. Next thing you know, it was probably I don't know, 20, 25-inch cobia that came up. And he hit one of the spoons.
Oh, interesting. Have you ever
It was pretty
seen
cool.
when you've been blue fishing or even fishing around here, I've heard people talk about it, but have you ever run into by chance king mackerel?
I have not hooked one, but I saw one jump the other day. So
Really?
I did have heard that, yes, I have heard they're down at the ocean front the
Interesting.
past week or two. Yeah,
Yeah.
I have heard reports of.
Those are toothy critters. I mean, if you're gonna get hooked into one of those, you better have some steel leader on, that's for sure.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. So
So when you're sight fishing, do you have any sort of tips or tricks that you like to deploy? I know everyone kind of has their opinion on sunglasses. Do you have a pair or a lens that you prefer over others?
I have I like my bios lenses. I
Hmm.
have two different pairs. The typical green, and then I've got more of that amber color brown lens. I seem to like it, that works better for me for my eyes.
Hmm.
It's all with honestly, your personal preference. I used to use Costas, but I kind of switched over. So, but in whatever you feel confident with, and that goes with fishing gear and everything else, is what you should use.
I definitely agree with that. And I know that Bahio has several different lenses to choose from. I was actually fishing with a friend of mine from Pensacola last week, and he has really light blue eyes, and I have dark brown eyes. And we were playing around with the different sunglasses that we had, and he had the Bahios on. I had my Maui Jims on, and he was definitely seeing them a little bit better with his lens, his Bahio lenses, because of his light eyes. So it was just interesting to consider that as an additional sort of data point to consider in your lens choice could be your actual eye color in terms of like how the dark brown eyes versus a hazel or a blue eye might receive light and contrast.
But I mean, to tag along on that point, so like when I wear the green lenses, I feel like almost like I'm getting blinded almost, if that makes
Mm.
any sense. It's letting more light in, and I don't like it.
Hmm.
So that's why I switched to the darker lens.
Yeah, and if you look at the Bahia website, they actually have they kind of grade it by how much light it lets through. So there's like sort of,
Right.
brightest light to lowest light. Um, and so the brighter ones will let less light through, whereas like if you go all the way down to like the violet mirror, which is their sort of lightest or lowest light lens, um, that lets a lot more light in because you're able to pick up some contrast in lower light conditions. So that could be like a good lens to use if you're, maybe fishing structure earlier in the morning or later in the evening. And then, like you were
Right.
saying, that copper and silver mirror with the copper-based lens has lets a little bit less light in. It's going to be better for that high bright, day. So I hope people don't.
And I'm one of those, and I'm one of those guys that won't wear a hat. So I'm
Wait,
sure
hold
that
on.
githe me a little bit.
You don't wear a hat when you're fishing?
Nope, I do not. My wife gets on my tail about it too.
What's the where's this kind of come from? Like I don't think I've ever met
I just,
anyone that doesn't wear a hat.
I just, I've always been that way. Never
Uh,
worn a hat out there.
if anyone's listening to this show and wants to donate a hat to Captain Tom, please, email us at lukebarton at
I've got
greatdaysoutdoors.com.
plenty of hats.
We want to get one really cool logo with the Hooks logo on it. And, I think I speak for every dermatologist that's listening. They're probably like, oh my gosh, please at least tell me you're wearing sunscreen. You are wearing sunscreen,
Well,
right?
I definitely am doing. Yeah, of course. Yep.
Okay, good, good. I think I've seen a few people around town. He'd probably kick my butt for saying this, but well, I won't say his name. But I know a couple of captains who've had, some little things, cut off their face because they used to not wear sunscreen. And I would remind anybody listening, I mean, there's nothing quite like being 10 feet closer to the sun in a tower. That's a difference there as well, even though it's minor. You're closer to the sun, and then you're out there for 8 hours, 6 hours, however long it is. These days it feels like 12 hours because you're trying to find a fish, swimming on the surface. Wear those sun shirts, gloves, hat. Um, it definitely saves you from some trouble down the road. So we're talking through the lenses, and then we get down into the tackle and the rod and reel combos. What do you guys like to throw on your boat, and what's your setup look like from rod and reel down to hook and leader?
I am running 50-pound braid right now, with a 40-pound leader.
Okay,
Um, I got in with saltwater fishing products, so I've been running their 6,000 reels, and I actually really like their customer service and stuff like that. And
very
I'm
cool.
obviously getting a good deal on those.
Mm-hmm.
And then I am getting custom rods, but they're basically St. Croix blanks and 7 to 7.6, you know, medium heavy with 1 to 3 ounce. Yep.
Very cool. And what was that brand of reel again? You said saltwater
Florida fishing products. Sorry.
Florida fishing products. Okay, got it. I was like, my Google search
Yep.
is not returning much. Okay, so Florida fishing products reel
Yep.
6,000.
They're down in Florida, obviously. Yep.
Very
It's
cool.
the Resolute.
Resolute. That's a
Yep.
good looking reel, and that's a
Yep.
pretty decent price point, considering what a lot of, reels can cost. And, in terms of like the smoothness of the drag and the bail and the action on it, what would you kind of, if you could compare it to another reel that maybe folks would be familiar with, what do you feel like it reminds you
I
of when
mean,
you're using it?
my mate, I always tell him to bring his rod and reel and what he's comfortable with, and he runs a Stratic 5,000. And I
Hmm.
mean, honestly, mine's a little bit bulkier, but when it comes to smoothness and stuff like that, I feel like they're comparable.
Hmm.
And like I said, in my price point, I can't beat it.
No, and you got to have stuff that's durable and good, but you also can't be, with customers on board, and rods breaking and nets breaking,
And,
and we can't have $1,000 reels left and right.
right.
One of the things
And to your point, we're running charters and they're getting beat up. We're
Mhm.
going out there almost every day if we can, and you don't want to. I mean, me personally, I can't see buying that $500 reel and just watching it get beat up every day.
No, no,
Say
absolutely
say
not.
that for your trout stuff when you're by yourself.
Yeah, I mean, when you pull into Hertz rent a car after, to go on vacation, they're not renting you, Lexus and Audi. It's
Right.
Kia, Ford, and everything in between, Nissan. But looking at the reel online, what I like about it is that it has the large knob handle. And I will tell you, when it comes to Cobia and Reds, and you can attest to this too, the ability to sometimes pick up a lot of line really fast is key. And when you're able to grip that knob, it's a very natural movement with your hand versus the T handles. I've always had a hard time with those. So I really like that on
Right.
those Florida fishing products. And then you said 50-pound braid, 40-pound leader. Now the $1 million question: Are you which type of hook do you
J
prefer?
J hook.
J hook. Okay. All right. So last week we had this lengthy conversation about Team Circle Hook versus Team J hook. So you're obviously Team J hook. Do you have a specific size or a hook make model that you prefer that you typically tie on?
I'm using an 8.0 or a 9.0. I will use circle hooks, but that's in a different application, not for Cobia and Reds. I'll use it under popping corks and stuff like that when we're, fishing for puppy drum and trout. But
Hmm.
kind of, I'm a J hook guy.
Yeah. I am too. I talked to last week on the show that I might convert if I start to have some pull offs, but I think it's one of those things where you either love it or you don't, and both work great in their application. I think it has a lot to do with the person holding the rod and reel more so even than the hook a lot of times.
I
Um,
I agree. If you see him eat it, don't let him eat it too long.
mhm.
If he's got it, flip that bail over and set the hook.
So you just said something that made me think if you see them eat it. So what would you say is an easy mistake that a lot of us make when we first start out, sight fishing, when we see a fish and we cast a bait to them? What are some sort of critical mistakes that we often make when we're first getting started learning how to sight fish?
Getting too excited. I mean that's I mean, there they are, and then it's you either whip the bait out there and don't put the bait where it needs to be, or you do think they ate it and you just flip the bail, or when you go to set the hook, you don't need to like completely rip it out of his mouth because I've seen that 100 times where your hook is flying back at the boat about to catch your customers and stuff like that. So it's all in moderation, right?
Yeah, man, guilty on all charges. Especially it's like the first, trip or two out for the season, it's like, and it's been, several months and naturally I pull a boneheaded move like that. But you said
Right.
something that reminded me, you cast out there and you think they ate and you flip the bail open. So that kind of ties back to what you said about seeing them eat. So there's there's a nugget of wisdom in there, which is to always keep your bait that you're presenting the fish up on the surface where you can see the fish and the bait until they eat it and not let it necessarily swim down out of sight. Because if they swim down out of sight and they don't eat it, they're kind of gone. You don't get a chance to throw anything else at it.
True, but there's times where the eel just goes down or whatever you're throwing,
Hmm.
and you're like, did he eat? And then you're like, well, he's starting to take line. Like
Yeah.
if he's taking your line, and then okay, 1, 2, 3, click the bail, and then I always try to reel if there's any kind of slack out, and then see if I feel any kind of tension on that tip, and if I do, then I'll set the hook.
Yeah. And I think that comes with time and experience where an expert like you that's seen 1,000 fish eat, you probably know by looking at the way that that fish first engaged that bait whether they're going to eat or not.
Oh, you can tell. It's almost like their gills come out. You've seen it. They load up and they just
Hmm.
start. It's almost like they attack it.
Yeah.
But then,
Yeah.
there's other days where you'll see them do that, put their nose right up to it and go the opposite direction just as fast.
Yeah, that's when all the
So,
choice four-letter words come out loud and
yeah.
clear.
Yeah.
Why the
I
when that
try
fish?
not to when I've got charters on there.
You gotta keep it professional.
Exactly.
I don't know why that's making me laugh because I'm just thinking about so many times where it's always the big one. Like it's always like the worst timing where you've been out there and it's been a drag, which has been many days this year so far for so many captains because it's just not up. And then you finally have that one really good encounter and you like you're like, oh, perfect. She's swimming away from me. I can see her real good. I get a chance to bring the boat to neutral, get the bait out to her, pull it perfectly to her face. Oh God, she's gonna smoke it. And then she just, does the little nosing thing. And you're like, are you serious?
Right. And
Uh,
that's another thing. You're for people that are just learning how to do this stuff. That's a big thing. Your motor.
mm,
Don't slam it in and out of gear. If you see them, don't get too excited. Just kind of mosey along. Hopefully, you've got the wind with you, so you can cast good. But just that knocking of the engine, you'll just watch them soak down, and you'd be like, I don't. You can't even get a cast on them.
right.
So that's one thing to kind of look for, if you're just starting out.
Would you say it is the tone of the motor, RPMs increasing, decreasing, or the clunk in and out of neutral that is the most sort of problematic with
Mm,
a cobia?
I think honestly, all of it. I mean, there's times where you're running like, hey, I'm going from here to here, and then oh my God, there's a pair to my left. Just keep going past them because once you just rev down and try to make that turn, you'll just watch them just soak down super super slow.
Yeah.
Sometimes I've caught fish doing that. Just all right, keep going, go a little bit further down, and then turn around and then come back and find them.
That definitely takes some discipline because I think most of us, myself included, I would see them and it's just the knee jerk is to go ahead and stop
It's
right there and try to throw.
I agree. I mean, I'm guilty of it, but the more and more I've been doing this, it's like, all right, don't get too excited. Let's do this, turn around, and then get a good shot on them.
Right, right. Because if you're on plane, your wake is going to be somewhat minimal compared to like if you're plowing at like 8 or 9 miles an hour, throwing that big curly wake. So to your point, it's like if you see them, go ahead and clear them a little bit. Pay attention to your chart plotter or whatever, or just get a good bearing on them, and then make, I guess, what, like a wide circle, put them in the where you can see good, and try to come back and locate them.
I mean, it's easier. I mean, you know how it is. I mean, everyone likes it when it's flat out there, but when there's a little wake out there, you see them better. So you'll
Hmm.
see them in your wake, and then just try to keep a bearing on your wake, and then go back to where you were.
Yeah, and
That's
hope
kind
to
of how
hope
I
to
do
find them. So basically,
it.
don't Hail Mary throw a bait behind you. I've seen people do that on my boat before.
Unless, unless you know you can do it. I mean, you can try.
Right. Absolutely. And I've seen people fight fish in all kinds of ways, like whether it's, off the bow, off the back, from the tower. Do you have a preference? Like once you've hooked a fish up, can you talk me through like from the point you hook a fish up to the point that you get the fish in the net, what's your sort of standard process that you like to do to keep that fish on the line?
All right. So, I mean, I've got my same speech as we're heading out to the fishing grounds to all our charters. My mate and I are up top on the tower, unless they specifically say, the customers, that is, that they want to cast on the fish. We're casting on the fish. We're going to hook the fish. My mate's going to get down. Either we're going to be on the port or starboard side of the boat. We're going to hand the pole down, and I kind of want you in the back left or right corner, and
Okay.
then try to do circles around you. Some obviously that doesn't work all the time. I mean, our last trip, hooked a fish and handed it down. And he was at the bow and he started running right towards the bow. And I couldn't get out of the way fast enough. And I was trying to tell the customer to run to the bow. And then the line got hooked around my trolling motor and just snapped.
Oh,
So, you know, every fish is different, but 90% of the time I want you in the back left or right corner of the boat.
yeah. Keeps the you're able to kind of control the distance between you and the fish easiest from there. And then do you keep the boat in gear and kind of turn those gentle circles, or do you kind of just
For
keep her
the
on a straight line?
for the most for the most part, yes. But
Got it.
I kind of want them in the the back. If once we hand it down, because you'll lose more fish handing that pole down, and people keeping the slack getting in the line, and then they're gone. So
Hmm.
I try to keep the boat in gear to make sure we've got pressure on that line when we're handing it down.
Very cool. Man, you're making me want to go fishing again, and I'm having to just sit here and look at
Try.
the weather report, and just be patient because this is tough right now with this northeast blow.
I know I've had to cancel quite a few trips this week, and hopefully we can get back everyone rescheduled and back on it next week.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the one sort of positive, and we talked about this before, hitting record, but looking at Hilton's real-time navigator and looking at the satellite shot, I mean, we're seeing a remarkable difference in the sea surface temperatures inside of the bay. I mean, how do you think that's going to potentially impact the fishery if, we get on the other side of this blow and the bay waters are 7, 8, 9 degrees cooler on the surface? What do you think that's going to do for the fishing?
Makes me nervous a little bit. Like we're finally getting back into normal temps, but is that going to shock the fish and they're going to start acting weird and think they need to, group up and get out of here? I don't know.
Mm,
That does kind of worry me a little bit. And then our season's done. I mean, I know it's early, but
yeah.
it's been such a weird year. I think the fish have been here. They've been low, but 8 or 9 degrees for a fish, you know what it does to trout and puppy drum. They start,
Hmm.
they start acting weird. So what's it going to do to the cobia? Hopefully they're all on the surface, and hopefully, we got a bunch of bait around now.
Yeah. Yeah. It's, the hope, I think, like you said, is that they're more comfortable in their, what would be sort of normal temperatures this time of year. And maybe they're, willing to come up and hang out on the surface more. The bait might be able to come out and hang on the surface. I mean, that's another thing I've noticed. The bait, every time I've seen bait, it's been down several feet. It hasn't really been up like you'd like
Right.
to see it. So even if fish are in the bait, it's harder to see them if they are in there. But yeah,
Right.
I'm with you, man. I really hope that it doesn't do anything weird. I also am curious because you said you've fished out around the windmills, and those windmill bases are certainly something new that weren't there last year. Do you think that could also, in some way, shape, or form, impact the number of fish we're seeing inside of the bay, or otherwise?
I think it's going to turn into a fish haven personally, but that's going to take time. I think.
Yeah. Yeah, it definitely is holding a lot of life, and I've heard some reports of some cobias out there, and so, it does kind of make me scratch my head and wonder how many fish migrate from east to west versus, south to north when it's, start of the season or time to spawn. And it does make me just kind of wonder, how many fish might have been in their normal migration path and gone, "Oh, wow, look at this
Yeah.
giant
Well,
hotel with all this food. This is great. We should just hang out
right.
here." And there's not as many
And
boats with towers on them.
but once that word gets out, then everyone's going to be out there too. So it's
It's true.
it's all part
True.
of fishing.
Yeah. It is. It's you're absolutely right. That sort of adapt and overcome is what separates, the sort of weekend warrior from, guys like you that are doing this professionally. You've got to put your time in, you got to be a student of the data. And when the fish start to do weird things, you have to sort of adapt and overcome and figure it out.
Yes, you do. It's all about time on the water
Yeah, absolutely. Well,
and a few good friends to call.
it's definitely when you're on the boat, it's a team sport, and when you're out there, it's a team effort to get located on them. That's for sure. Um, Captain Tom, before we wrap up, are there any other fish stories or tips or tricks that you'd like to share with the listeners?
No, I don't think that's it. I just appreciate the time you having me on.
Absolutely, man. I appreciate your support of the show and what you're doing. You know, running a classy charter with all the right stuff, so folks can get up with you and enjoy a safe time on the water and a clean environment. I know you keep your boat squeaky clean, and it's brand new and very stable. Folks are interested in getting aboard Hook Sport Fishing and going out for a trip with you, whether that's Cobia, Reds, or into the fall, the trout, like you were mentioning. What's the best way they can contact you or look you up and take a look at the calendar and get booked?
Well, my website hooks with a Z sportfishing.com, or you can contact me on my cell 757-613-0237, and I will get back to you.
Awesome. And I got to throw myself under the bus here because I said it like a ding dong. I said, how long has Hook Z been around? And you're like, dude, it's Hooks. And I'm like, well, what's the Z for? And you're like, my last name. I'm like, oh, that's right. So actually, how do you pronounce your last name?
It's the Zellabore, Tom Zellabore.
Zellabore. Okay, got it. Yeah, so hooks with a Z for Zellabore. So you guys heard it. The website, hooksportfishing.com with a Z or 757-613-0237 to get booked and have a good time with Captain Tom. Man, it's been a pleasure. Thanks for being on. I look forward to hearing from you more in the future.
Yes, sir. I appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Folks, that's going to wrap up a great segment meeting a new captain and contributor, Captain Tom with Hooks Sport Fishing on that beautiful 25 Southern Cross with that Suzuki on the back and the trolling motor up front. Y'all, check him out. Follow him on the socials. Get booked. You'll have a good time. Stick around for a word from our sponsors who make this content free for you each week, and we'll be back with you real soon. Boaters know that the unexpected can happen anytime. That's why Seatow offers 24/7 on-water assistance with priority service for members. Whether it's a dead battery, running out of fuel, or needing a tow, Seatow's fleet is ready to help. Membership includes unlimited towing with no distance or dollar limits in your home area, fuel delivery, jump starts, and more. Plus, members receive exclusive discounts on fuel, electronics, dockage, and boat insurance. With over 500 ports nationwide, Seatow has you covered wherever you boat. Join today at seatow.com and boat with confidence. Whether you're hitting the sand with set rigs using the traditional scent strips for pompano or fishing the flats or marshes for speckled trout, redfish, and flounder, Fish Bites has something for you. They're family owned and operated in St. Augustine, Florida, and pride themselves on making reliably consistent fishing products for anglers of all ages around the world. Fish Bites bait and lures are made with pride in the Sunshine State, USA. Check out the full line of scented saltwater and freshwater baits at fishbites.com. Upgrade your waterfront with Killer Doc's premium dock furniture. Built to last a lifetime in marine conditions. Crafted from marine-grade aluminum with a protective anti-corrosion coating, it's tough enough to handle the elements while providing unmatched comfort. Featuring sunbrella cushions with fast-drying, removable covers, our furniture stays securely in place even in storms. Choose from cabanas, club chairs, love seats, tables, and more to create your perfect dockside retreat. Durability meets elegance at Killer Doc. Check out the full collection at killerdoc.com today. Looking to protect your dock with materials built to last? Shoreline Plastics has you covered. As leaders in composite marine dock pilings and building materials, they engineer solutions that stand the test of time. Their EcoPile is the ultimate composite piling designed for longevity and eco-friendliness, ensuring your dock remains strong for years. And if you need a quick fix for worn pilings, try Snap Jacket, a durable solution that restores and extends their life. Visit shorelineplastics.com to discover how you can elevate your next marine project. Shoreline Plastics, where durability meets innovation. Sam Rust Seafood, your locally trusted source for premium wholesale seafood, servicing customers from Hampton Roads down through the Outer Banks, Richmond, and surrounding areas, including Fredericksburg, Charlottesville, and Lynchburg, for over 80 years. Committed to the highest standards in the industry, Sam Rust distributes the best of the ocean directly to your restaurant, hotel, or grocery store on time and at a great price. Visit samrust.com to discover how quality, tradition, and sustainability come together. So don't cuss, call Sam Rust. All right, guys, I want to pick up on it's been what, 2, 3 weeks since we talked last. Captain Mike Hosang with Fishing for Mortgages. I actually saw Captain Travis posting, here we are, these Northeast blow. What do we do? And he's got like 17 of your fishing for mortgage buckets on
Yes,
his
sir.
boat. But anyways, welcome back to the show, man. How you doing tonight?
Very good, very good. Yeah, the buckets are everywhere.
They really are. I mean, it's like the best marketing collateral that anybody ever came up with because it's actually useful. It's like when you go to those golf tournaments and you get, swag in your bag and you're like, oh, great, another pin, another thing of, chapstick or,
Yeah,
whatever the hokey pokey stuff is that ends up just going in the trash can. But a bucket, man, has so many uses. You can carry water with it. You can put baits in it
that's it.
in an emergency situation. It could be a restroom.
Yeah, so I was leaving the marina the other day, and because I was out there, I did my 100-hour maintenance, and I'm rolling out, and Travis goes, "Hosang!" and he holds up two of my buckets, and then behind him, I see two other buckets, and I was like, "How many do you have now?" He goes, "I don't even know." So he started pulling buckets out of everywhere. I was like, "Dude, stack them up. I got to take a picture." So I posted that picture, and he reposted it. And since then, I've had like six captains hit me up
Asking for
saying
buckets.
they want buckets.
Well, guys, welcome to this episode on how to make a great bucket. No, I'm just kidding. Tell us the
Exactly.
buckets are really great, though. So, I mean, what is it about the bucket? Like, what do you do to them to make them, so versatile and useful?
Yeah, man. Well, they're pickle buckets, so they're food grade. They're 90 mil buckets, so they're super thick compared to like a Home Depot or a Lowe's bucket that
Ah,
you put 4 gallons of water in a 5 gallon Home Depot bucket, and the handle's already cracking off.
mm.
But so I clean them up. I get them free from restaurants. Clean them up. I let them air out so they don't smell too bad like pickles. And
Oh,
then I
that's why
take.
they're green.
That's why they're green. Well, some are green and some are white. And
Okay.
like I used to get some that were yellow, but I don't. The restaurant I used to get this from doesn't get them in. They get them in boxes now. They don't get them in buckets anymore.
I've never seen a white or a yellow pickle, but I guess.
Yeah, it's just the pickle bucket is all.
Oh, got it, got it.
Yeah, yeah,
All right,
yeah,
I'm full of bad dad jokes tonight. So anyway, so you
yeah.
clean up the pickle buckets, and then what do you do for the handle?
Yeah, the rope handle is 8 strand polypropylene, red, white, and blue American flag handles, and then I cut them down to size. I cut little PVC handles that I put the rope through, so it's a lot easier to carry,
Hmm.
and everybody loves those. And then I melt. So I put the end through. I put on a stainless steel washer. I melt the end so that it can't come back through the washer, and then I pull it back up in to the
Good to
handle
go.
slot, and it's good to go. And them bad boys last.
I've seen similar buckets created by some tournaments in the past, and you could tell they really, cut some corners by not putting the stainless steel. And inevitably, that bucket, in a matter of like a month or two, that thing is so corroded around the rope, and then you just don't even really want to use it because it just looks disgusting with all that corrosion.
Yeah,
Um, so we talked when you were on last about the possible idea of what could be out by the windmills. I was actually just talking with Captain Tom with Hook Sport Fishing about, what's going on with these windmill bases. And so I'm really curious to hear about, did you actually make it out to the windmills to dive and look? And if so, what'd you see?
yeah, we made it out. We did see some cobras. We saw some triggers. We saw the two main ones always hold black sea bass, but they're all tiny.
Mm,
Um, and that'll get overfished. As soon as the black sea bass opens up,
hmm.
those two windmills get smoked.
Yeah.
And so all the bigger ones are bye bye usually
Yeah.
in about a month, and then it's all teeny tiny ones.
So why just those two bases? Now that there's all these bases out there, why would they just kind of be localized to those two bases, the Black Sea Bass?
Two reasons. One is about 40 feet down. There's a grid, like a stabilizing grid that goes all the way around the circumference of the base.
Hmm.
And I don't know why the other ones don't have it. They might add them as they put the
Ah,
top of the windmills on.
yep.
I don't know the answer to that really. But those two have a ton of growth on them. And on the bottom at 75, 80 feet, it's granite rock that also has a ton of growth on it, anywhere from mussels to barnacles to oysters. And so there's just those two have a big biodiverse amount of fish life there,
Got
from
it.
small fish to big fish. So, and you'll see cobias on there every now and then. but there's inevitably going to be 2 or 3 or 4 boats there anytime you go out to the windmills.
Got it. That makes sense. Yeah, and I'm trying to look at some, some of the pictures like you were talking about just now, sort of describing. So I'm looking at a web article showing what you were just describing, so you can kind of get an idea of what it looks like under the water. And it does sound like what you're saying makes the most sense that after they put the actual structure and the turbine blades up, that'll probably be when they add that other structure underneath. But all right, so going back, so you did see some cobias out there. What was the depth that you were seeing them at?
I mean, they'll swim up to you. Cobias are
Okay.
very curious, so even
Hmm.
if they're all the way down at the bottom,
Hmm.
if you put a diver in the water, or you got a boat that'll come up next to it or whatever, any sort of noise or motion or commotion, they'll come up and look at you for a second. Now, usually it's only a second. They'll see that they don't, you're obviously not something that they like or are used to.
Hmm.
Big old bug-eyed, mask and weird snorkel sticking out of your head. And
Right.
so, while they do like to follow big animals like sharks and turtles and rays and stuff like that, which I'll get to in a second, but um, they're not going to follow you around, but they might inspect to see if you might be something that they can trail.
Got it.
But so that's why trying to shoot them, usually get one opportunity.
Hmm.
So as they're coming up from depths, you take a shallow dive, 20, 30 feet or whatever, and then they'll give you a broadside as they're turning to leave. And then you can get a really good look at what size they are, how big their tails are, usually in a big, fat, tall tail. And that's a good indication on that you've got a big shooter fish.
Hmm.
And then you light them up. But
Yeah.
we didn't really see that many. We saw out of about maybe 18, 20 or so posts that we dove, we saw 1 or 2 triggers on every other one, and then you'd randomly see like 5 triggers. But they're all good sized triggers.
Yeah.
And then we probably saw 8 or 10 cobias diving, saw 2 killers, the rest were small. And then going from post to post, we saw some free swimmers, but it was super glary, and really none of them were really big. So it wasn't insane, that's for sure.
And I'm curious, I'm actually going to use Hilton's Real-Time Navigator as a reference. So, do you remember what date or day of the week that you guys went recently?
I mean, it would have been like 3 weeks ago, probably. We
Okay.
went not the weekend we talked about it on the podcast, but the weekend after.
Okay. Let's see here. That would have been July 19th, maybe
Yeah,
1920
yeah, 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 probably around there.
or 11/12. Okay, so let's look at July 19th in the historical data. And this is fun to do just because you can kind of get a feel for, you know, what some of the sea surface temperatures were during that time frame. Do you remember the water temperature out where you guys were diving, what it was at depth?
Yeah, at depth, they said there was a thermocline at around 25 feet, and they said it was probably around 74, 75.
Okay, got it.
So not super chilly, but chilly enough.
Right. Yeah, so I mean, I guess the sea surface temperature doesn't really do much for us because you were down there, 20, 25 feet. But I'm thinking that if that's the same weekend, I believe there was a fishing tournament that weekend where like a 28-pound cobia won the whole tournament because it was such bad sight fishing that day. So it's possible that something between, moon and who knows that could have had them, not that active. But I mean, shoot, seeing 10 cobias compared to what it's been like this summer, even though you were diving, it's still pretty good numbers, for what it was. Do you remember the sea conditions? Was it a smooth, calm day out there, or was it a little chopped up?
Yeah. No, I was
Okay,
flat as a pancake.
got it. Did you run
I'm
this?
not. I'm not going to send it to the windmills in my boat unless it's nice and flat. And like, even if there's a chance of like hard northeast winds in the afternoon, I'm still not going to send it. As long as I can see a nice calm day for the whole day,
Right,
we'll send it. Just because
got it.
I'm said it 1,000 times. I'm too old to get beat up in the boat anymore.
Oh man, speaking of getting beat up, these poor guys fishing the White Marlin Open, man, they're in for
I know.
a
I got a friend of
week,
mine that's doing it. He's
dude.
on. He's
Yeah,
on the Mama C.
Mama C.
They
Okay,
they extended it what two days or something like that, three
Saturday,
days.
yeah, Saturday and Sunday. So you could fish, I guess, today, Monday, the 4th, all the way through, I guess the 11th, Sunday. But man, that's some of these guys are going to be buckling up. I mean, probably wishing they had football helmets and pads on because some of these days it's going to be brutal out there. It's
Yeah,
just
I
not
mean,
fun. That's war.
even the big boats, you're just getting a beating.
Yeah. I mean, I've been out on a 68-foot Juan Cheese, the click-through boat from Fathom Offshore, and when it's a certain size sea condition, it doesn't matter. I mean, you're going to get tossed around, and
Yeah,
you learn just how quickly being in a giant boat really doesn't mean all that much.
no, especially northeast, man, because no matter where you are, and especially if you're offshore and you're in deep water, northeast, man, it just turns it into a washing machine.
Yep. Yep. It's actually disrupting or disturbing the natural sort of currents of your tides. And so it just gets, like you said, turns in. I think I saw somebody's comment. It was like, "Welcome to the Whitewash Open."
Yeah, exactly,
So,
exactly. Poor
uh,
guys.
yeah. So you guys were able to shoot one, and then you also did a trip alongside of Austin or with Austin on Fineo. But before we get into that trip, I want to go back out to the windmills for a second. So I forget how many total bases there are. It's like 170, I think now. Just for
There's supposed to be 180 at the end, but right now there's about eight.
80. Okay. So 80 bases. Roughly how many would you say you guys looked at where you got in the water and took a
Yeah,
look?
yeah, probably like around 18 to 20.
Wow. Okay. So you were moving.
Yeah, we were, yeah, because I mean, you could dive on one post all day long and like randomly a cobia might swim by or other fish might swim by.
Hmm.
But if they're on the post,
Yeah.
you'll see them. The viz that day
Uh-huh.
was beautiful. I mean, crystal clear.
Okay.
Yeah, when they dove down, they dove down 20 feet, 30 feet, they could see the bottom.
Got it. Okay.
So, and some of the posts are 65 feet to the bottom, and some of them are 95 feet to the bottom.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Interesting. Interesting. So, okay. So I went back in time a little bit to look at that date. So it was very calm that day. We're talking like, what was it? Like 1.5 at 8 or 9 seconds.
Oh yeah, hardly any swell whatsoever.
Yeah, that's what you dream of when you want to run out there. But that's just good to know that you got to be prepared to move around and look, because I think it can be easy to get defeated if you go in and let's say you make the run out there, you jump in and you look at 4 or 5 bases and you don't see anything. It could be tempting to just kind of like give up. So it sounds like you're not going to give up that quickly, regardless. I mean, how many total bases did you jump in before you started to see a cobia?
The first one that we jumped in,
Come on, you
no,
got.
yeah, threw my guy in. First one, he's like, there's two here, but I didn't shoot. It was questionable. And then we went back and looked at his video, and it wasn't really questionable. There was definitely a small one, undersized one, but the other one was definitely a shooter fish.
Ah,
Um, but when it's next to a really small one, it skews what
right.
size the bigger one is, and you never want to shoot a fish that's undersized. So, and like I said many times before, you're way better off letting it swim away than shooting an
Mhm.
undersized fish, killing a fish for no reason, or getting caught with an undersized fish on your way back. None of it's worth it.
Yeah, and I imagine it's a little bit, in my mind, tricky out there on the windmill bases. Like when you're up against a buoy chain or even a piling at the and correct me if I'm wrong. I always say pylon. Is it a pylon or a piling? The
I
bridge
mean,
tunnel.
piling, pylon, poles. I think everybody's got a different term for it's like tomato at this point.
Yeah, I guess it's a piling. I'm gonna go with cylindrical concrete structure. I mean, whatever you want to call it.
Yeah.
I'm Googling it now because I'm curious. I think one's wood.
Wood
Piling refers to the
pilings.
process of installing piles, long, slender columns into the ground, whereas a pylon, uh, man, I don't know which it is.
Dude, they're poles.
That's
It's
right.
that it's that easy. We're gonna get rid of the other two names. We call them poles. We're not wrong there.
I like that. Let's just start calling them poles. All right, that's easy. That'll help me out. I am curious though, just for the nerd in me, kind of has to know. While often used interchangeably in engineering terms. They're very different. It won't tell me which it is though. Bridge and tunnel system. I wish there was just a quick, easy answer. I guess it's bridge pilings. I guess pylons are what go when you're like putting like a pylon down to build a dock on top of. But whatever. Somebody listening, please email in Luke Barton at
That's it.
greatdaysoutdoors.com. Tell me you're an architectural engineer and please set the record straight for us. But anyways, back to these poles. You see a fish on a pole, you see a fish on a buoy chain. It's probably a little bit easier to have that like frame of reference memory to know if it's a shooter fish or not. When you're down there with these windmill bases, which is kind of like a newer thing to be, shooting up against, is it harder? Is it different than when you see them on known structure?
It's not. It's better. The two best ways to shoot a big fish are if it's by itself and it's obviously big, then you blast away.
Right.
But when you have smaller fish that are questionable, and let's say they're all around that size and they're all questionable, that's what makes it the most difficult. And
Mm,
then the next thing is when you got a bunch of fish that you are like, oh wow, that's a bunch of big fish, and there's a standout in that. That's your best case scenario, because if you've got a bunch of like, when the bridge season is like on fire,
hmm
like last year, end of August, for sure it was on fire. Every dive, you just get, sandblasted by freaking big giant cobias, and it's amazing. So you see, 6 or 8 20-pounders, and then there's 5 or 6 40-pounders, and then there's 3 or 4 50-pounders. Those 50-pounders are massive standouts.
right.
It's like a pink dress in the middle of 50 blue dresses. You obviously see that thing. You know what I mean? There's no
Yeah.
question. And so
That's
you
an
shoot that
implication
thing.
that the biggest ones are typically females, right? The big
Correct.
the big pink dress. Got it. Got it.
Yeah.
Have you ever asked Jacoby what its pronouns are? I'm kidding. We're not going to go down that rabbit hole. I would just be like, I see them fins and I want to shoot
That's
you.
right. Usually,
Anyways,
usually in that scenario, when you shoot the big one, it's bigger than you thought it was.
right, right. Yeah, when you get it out of the water. I mean, Alex Field and I, VA Surfcaster, one of the OGs of Cobia fishing. Gosh, he taught me so much about. I didn't know how many things I was doing wrong fishing until I fished with Alex. I mean, he showed me
Hmm.
so much, just of the nuancy things that you wouldn't think, matter, like how you run the boat, where you put things, how you think, checking drags. I mean, on and on the list goes. We fished together recently and caught a fish off of, structure. And I remember casting at the fish and thinking like, oh, that's questionable. And then when he hit the, deck and in the net, it was, 50 inches. And I was like, oh, wow. Like I forget how much they grow sometimes when they come off of
Yeah.
structure. Because that structure can kind of dwarf them. But I guess when you're under the water, you're getting a much more sort of up close and personal look at them, like you said, broadside before pulling the trigger. So if you could go back out to the windmills right now, would you go after a northeast blow like this with the water temperatures cooling off? Would you risk
Oh,
it?
absolutely. A friend of mine, my buddy report, but he actually sent me video.
My buddy
So
report.
he actually sent me video. They went out there and jumped in a few, didn't see any, jumped on another pole, didn't see any, jumped on another one. 3 come up, all of them shooters. The front one was 51 inches. And he blasted that one. So, and then I guess they jumped in and maybe another 5 or 6, didn't see any, and then jumped in another one and got their second one. So, yeah, I mean, you're only allowed 2. So if you see 5 and shoot 2, you had a good day.
Right. Right.
Um, the bridge right now is the weirdest I've ever seen it.
hmm
I dove last Tuesday, and all my normal haunts where I like to dive,
hmm
I've never ever once been skunked shooting sheep's heads. Never,
Really?
not a one on that bridge. And I got skunked at the 4th. I got skunked in my spots near the 3rd, and then I was getting skunked, and the current was really picking up near the 2nd. And I was actually out with Austin, and he was like, "Oh, I got to get going." I was like, "Dude, I cannot get skunked on this bridge.
They're like, dude, I'll swim back to the beach if I have to. I'm not getting
Leave me
skunked.
out here. Save yourself." So yeah, I was like, "Man, I gotta go." So finally, I took a dive and came across a really nice Tog 6-pounder. So I shot that one, brought it back, and it was amongst a couple of other nice sized togs also. But you look for a big white chin for a big male tog,
Hmm.
and that was a nice male tog. And then
So
next
the
dive,
male togs get to be the bigger ones.
normally, yeah,
Okay.
the
So in
the
that
male
case, you're
togs
looking
are
for a single standout blue dress amongst a bunch of pink dresses just to
correct,
keep things equal. Okay, got it. Okay.
correct.
Equal
That's right.
opportunity spearfishing. I love
That's right. You got to shoot the men and the women.
it.
Yeah. So then the next set, I shot another tog. That one was maybe about a 4 pounder, and then I saw a couple of sheeps after I did that shot, and I was like, "There's sheeps here, thank God!" So I shot a
Man.
sheep. Current was picking up. I was like, I got the skunk off. I was like, let's get out of here. So yeah, it was a really tough day, complete ghost town. And the way I dive is I dive down. There's always three, there's three poles. I
Yeah.
dive down the front end of the first pole, and I cruise across the second one, cruise to the third one, look around the whole time, and then I come up slowly on the third one, and it's usually around a minute long dive, sometimes a little bit longer. And I wasn't seeing anything. I wasn't even seeing very many spade fish. I was seeing
Wow.
like the onesie twosie spade fishes, where this time of the year, they're just like literally bumping into you every dive, and just like hitting you in the head and hitting you in the back, and like the spades are legitimately bumping into you. And
Wow.
there's none of that going on. So the rocks are holding some sheeps. I don't like diving the rocks because that's where big sharks like to hang out.
Hmm. Yeah, you kind of mentioned earlier about when we talked about sharks and rays that like you had something to say about that.
Yeah, this guy posted this guy Julian. I don't know him personally, but I know him through the magical book face and grams of Insta. And he posted a story. He took a shot, missed, and his spear got lodged in the rock, and he couldn't quite get it out. So he
Oh,
went up to get his breath. His GoPro was running, and then by the time he had gotten back down, unlodged his spear. Later, went back and looked at the video, and a like probably 7 foot sandbar shark cruises past his GoPro, and it's got a bunch of 35, 40 pound cobias following it.
oh my.
So that was pretty cool.
Is that
And
video online? Can we go see it?
it was a story, so she gone.
Okay.
I
Dang.
can text him to see if I can get it from him. But
Yeah, I'd love to see that. That reminds me of that big I think it was a sandbar shark as well. Or was it a sand tiger shark, the one that
that
Captain
was a sand
Travis,
tiger that
sand
Travis.
tiger. That thing was
Yeah,
massive.
that
Golly,
was
that
a
thing
big
was
one.
massive.
Yeah. But later on, Tuesday, last Tuesday, when Austin and I were out fishing, he got a my buddy call, and it turned out to be a good call because we were early in the day. We were getting absolutely skunked, and then we went out and we saw a pod of about maybe 15, probably 30 to 40 pounders.
Mm,
And so we cruise up to it. We both pitch freaking live menhaden at it. One smokes mine and then spits it right back out. Nothing even looks at his. And then we realize all those were sitting on the back of like a 7, 8 foot shark.
whoa.
Yeah.
Interesting. So, do you think that they kind of knew better than to get fired up because of
No, they're
the
dumb
sharks?
fish.
Okay.
They don't have a
'Cause
clue they're going to get eaten once they get hooked.
got it. Because I've seen that with I was offshore one time and saw some big mahi on a buoy, and there was a great white shark right next to them, and they wanted nothing to do with the bait, and in talking it through, it was the idea was that they know better than to start feeding because the shark would just turn on them and destroy them.
Yeah,
Um,
and that is true because mahi are viewing that shark as their predator. But
right.
these cobias don't view the shark as a predator.
They were
They
just
view it as
acting.
a food source
Got it.
because they're opportunistic and they're lazy fish
Mm-hmm.
when it comes down to it. So sharks will eat and keep going.
Got it.
They don't, unless there's a big carcass or something like that. For the most part, sharks, once they get a big feed, if they got crumbs, they're not going to go back and get the crumbs. So cobias are just sitting there snatching all the crumbs.
Got it. Okay.
And just
Yeah.
like with the rays, when the rays spawn, it's why you see so many cobias with the rays, because if the rays spawn, they're jacking those little baby rays.
Got it.
I've opened the stomach of many a cobia with four,
Little
five,
baby
six little
rays.
teeny baby rays in there.
Yeah, speaking of the rays, I mean, has there been anything that you've seen underwater or above water? I mean, where are the rays this year? I've not
Where are
seen
the
any.
rays? Zero rays.
I
We
mean,
saw thousands and thousands of them coming into the bay before the season started.
yeah, I mean, I'm
Haven't seen them since.
I'm on the web at, ray.com, the manufacturer of rays, and I don't see any recalls. I don't
No
see any
recalls.
no recalls. I have no idea where they've gone. The only thing I can think of is hot water.
It's got to be. It's got to be that. I mean, it's been a long time where it's been basically 2 straight months of absolute stifling heat.
Yeah.
And I can't recall a time ever where I'm in my 3 mil wetsuit and I'm sweating in the water. I'm in the water and I'm sweating inside my wetsuit.
Yeah, that's what it was like recently, wasn't it? With
Oh
how
yeah.
hot. That's crazy, man. And a 3 mil
Yeah.
wetsuit, that's not, I mean, the average surfing wetsuit for like wintertime surfing is what? Like 6 mil, 5 mil?
Yeah, the guys who use 5 or 7s.
5 or 7? Yeah. So 3 mil is not terribly thick. It's enough to like take the edge off the thermocline, right?
That's exactly why I wear it. I don't like being
Yeah.
cold at any point when I'm in the water. And so normally it's the thermocline that'll get to me and start annoying me. So
Hmm.
I'll be hot at the surface and I'll just kind of wiggle the wetsuit around a little bit and let some cool water in.
Yeah.
But then when I get to the thermocline, but the fourth island, no thermocline whatsoever. It
Got it.
was it was 89 degrees all the way to the bottom.
Wow.
And
Wow. That's just too
yeah,
hot. That's too
oh
hot.
man, it's boiling hot. Yep.
Yeah.
And I
The
said the
hot tub.
thermocline didn't start till almost 10 feet to the bottom over by the third. And then on the fourth, the thermocline was finally starting early. It was like around 20 feet. And that's where I shot my fish. So, yeah, I mean, just by that alone, I feel like it's got something to do with how hot the water is, which is making it a weird season.
Yeah. No,
And
it makes perfect sense. I mean, I'm thinking that there's going to be a lot of push to go out and fish hard once these fish actually show up, and it's a good probably time now. We've got a week of northeast blow, which is, talking to Captain Tom with Hook Sport Fishing. He's like using this time to do some maintenance items, to do some cleaning.
mm-hmm.
Now would be a great time to kind of do a safety check and make sure that all your gear is correct and that you have all the appropriate safety gear, whether that's through your boat, checking all your appropriate license, insurance, your life jackets, your flares, your fire extinguisher, your throwable, your visual stuff, your lights, your anchor light, your all of that stuff. Check your shackles on your anchor, make sure that's not corroded. The list goes on that you could go through and check your systems, go through all your switches, bilge, float, check your float switches, all that jazz. But for diving, it's a totally different set of safety equipment. So maybe just give us like a quick rundown of your safety checklist for your gear and then your safety checklist before you go on a spearfishing trip.
Yeah, this time of the year, I check the shooting line, which is the line connected to the back of the spear and then connected to your reel line.
Okay.
So similar to like you have a mono leader connected to
Hmm.
your braid.
Yep.
I've got usually mono. It's 400 pound mono
Hmm.
that I like to use on my bigger gun, and then I've got 1,000 pound Dyneema on my gun that's a little bit smaller. And the Dyneema is a lot more abrasion resistant, but it has propensity to get caught what's called a muzzle wrap
Hmm.
because it's rope basically, and it can coil up or get wound up, and where mono kind of holds its shape.
Right.
So when you shoot it, it falls off the catch that's on the side of the gun
Hmm.
and lays out perfectly. It's very, very rare you get a muzzle or a band wrap with mono, but it's not that rare to get a muzzle or a band wrap when you use Dyneema.
Got it. And the
And then
advantage is obviously, like you said, it's stronger and more resistant to abrasion. So if you're like fishing around
yeah, if you're
poles,
poles, exactly. You
poles,
got those barnacles. I'll tell you, man, and you got to have gloves. I wear a wetsuit and gloves no matter what I do because you're bumping up against those poles, especially if it's rocky. And you heard the war stories about people getting their bacteria in their hand. I forget the name of that bacteria, but it's like
oh,
it's a flesh eating bacteria.
yeah, a friend of ours passed away from that after getting it in a cut on his leg, and it was from, a bunch of eels that were kind of sitting down in a, stagnant bucket. What is the name of that? It's
Yeah, I hear guys, yeah, they're out there with no gloves on and they're out there with board shorts on. And, again, it's not a matter
Vibrio.
Vibrio, that's it.
Yep, yep.
It's not a matter to me of being cool. I don't care about cool. I got over cool in my 20s. And I don't even think I was cool then. So,
I'm sure
uh,
you were. Hey, real
it's
quick,
like,
speaking of
yeah,
speaking of cool, something you just did this past weekend that was really cool. I see a picture here of you standing on the top podium at a cycling race,
yeah,
offshore,
buddy.
guts, gravel, and glory, a 50-mile gravel race. I mean, obviously you got to be in shape to dive the way that you do, and I'm thinking that I'm seeing a connection here that your cardiovascular shape and your lung capacity probably has a lot to do with the on land exercise as well as the underwater exercise, but probably more so the on land exercise. I mean, but cycling is a hardcore cardio exercise. But tell us about your race. How'd you do? How'd you get that top podium finish?
Yeah, so there's an open category and then there's an old geezer category, 50 plus. And they start you all off together. So you're with the super fast guys. I used to be a long time ago one of those fast guys,
Yeah,
and now I'm a mediocre fast guy.
got it.
But yeah, so they started us off together. The guy that won it, I train with him here locally all the
Okay.
time, and he's a freaking absolute monster. And
Mm.
so it's a lot of fun training with him, but it's also at the end of the ride, I'm like, God, that was a violent ride. It was just miserable, but it works. So I was with him and six other guys. I ended up fourth overall and then first in my age group. So I was pretty stoked about that.
Dude, that's awesome. 50 miles. So I'm just curious, how long did it take you to finish 50 miles
That was
riding your
two and a
bike?
half hours.
Wow.
Yeah, so on gravel with I think there wasn't a ton of climbing in that race. There was like 2,400 feet of climbing total.
Yeah.
I did a race. I got eighth overall out of like almost 200 people the weekend before in a 60-mile gravel race up north of Charlottesville,
hmm
and I was pretty stoked to get eighth overall
That's
um,
still pretty
in
quick,
that
man.
one
I
because it
mean,
was
you're
90. It was not 96 degrees 2 weeks ago.
wow. I mean, you're
Yeah.
pushing what, like roughly a 3-minute mile then?
I don't know. We don't look at it like 3 minute miles. I mean, I guess, yeah, probably around that. I think we averaged 16, 17 miles an hour.
Okay.
Give
Got
you an
it.
idea how fast I used to be. I won a 100-mile gravel race 6 years ago now
hmm
and averaged 23 and a half miles an hour on gravel for 100 miles, just me and five other guys for 95 of those miles. We at mile five, we broke away from a group of about 400 people and then stayed away from
Took
that
off.
group for 95 miles and
Yeah,
a rotating pace line on gravel. And we were just
that's
rolling.
that's like 30% faster than what you're doing now. That's
Yeah.
significant.
4.5 hours for 100 miles on gravel.
Wow. So you're doing
Those days are
16
past me.
16 miles an hour. Uh so yeah, that works out to about a 3-minute mile, roughly. Man, that's wild. Anyways, so back to safety gear. So you go through your checks. You always wear gloves and a suit. You check your band the way that it's attached to your gun. What else do
And then
you
you check
look at?
check your reel line because
Okay.
right now you'll start to see cobias showing up on the bridge. They're not going to be thick. But you'll definitely run across one or two while you're diving, whether
hmm
it's on the bottom and he happens by, or you're swimming to the next set and he's in between sets, swimming through the bridge. A lot of the time, I see a big school of bluefish. I mean, 10 times out of 10, there's going to be a cobia in there.
Okay.
You might not see it right away. So what I do is if I'm swimming from one set of three poles to the next set of three poles
Right.
and I see a school of bluefish down there, I dive down and I hover right above the bluefish. And what they do is they surround you and they bring the cobia right up to you. Like the biggest cobia I ever shot was 62 inches, and I stoned it cold right in the top of the head, and that was in a school of bluefish.
Wow, that's epic. That's epic.
Yeah, I turned the switch off and just blipped sideways, and I drug it back to the boat.
Jeez. That's I mean that's obviously best case scenario, especially for a
Absolute best
fish
case
that
scenario.
size. Because I mean I will never forget that one time I saw you and we had that little mishap.
Oh yeah,
But that thing was yanking you around, dude. I mean, I was
yeah.
like, hey,
That
buddy, how
rivaled
are
that
you doing?
fish.
And you're like, I was like, is he yelling for help or is he okay? I was like, I
I
don't know
probably
what's
should have
going
been.
on.
I probably should have been yelling for help.
I don't
But
know.
yeah, safety. Then what I always do every year is I unwind my reel
Okay,
and I wind it back up.
got it.
And what a lot of people do is they wind it tightly against itself as far as like how it overlaps. You know what
Hmm.
I mean? So if you got
Yeah.
one coil that goes from one side to the left and then it's going back to the right, you shouldn't do that. That's the fastest way to get what's called a reel lock, or when your reel locks up on you,
Hmm. And it's
because
like overlapped and crisscrossed almost.
that's how you want it to be. You want it overlapped and crisscrossed, more exaggerated than you want it close to itself as you're
Oh, because it would
spooling it on.
like pin almost like pinch
It
itself
pinches
where it's
itself.
ah
Exactly. Yep. And
interesting.
a lot of people, when they wind up that reel, they make them close to each other. And once it gets to the edge, the left or right side of the reel,
It like lays on itself.
it lays on itself and pinches in, and that's how you get a reel locked
So
up.
you
You
want
either
more of like a ball of yarn wrap where it's this like loose kind of changing on a regular basis all the way across and back and keep it
Yeah, you want it crisscrossed, more exaggerated. You still want it tight on the spool, but you want it crisscrossed more.
right. Okay, got it.
And
Okay.
you end up with a little bit less line on your reel, but I mean, you're in 50 feet of water max normally when you're shooting cobia around the bridge or the rocks or even a buoy. You know,
You
you
got more
might
than
be
enough.
60. You got plenty. Yeah, you
Yeah.
got plenty.
Yeah. So we got our gun check, we got our reel check, we've got our proper gear on. Is there anything that you have to look at with like your fin, mask, snorkel from a safety perspective, or are they pretty much good to go each time?
Yeah, you always want to check that stuff. Anytime I'm washing my gear at the end of every dive, I check all that stuff regardless. I look for cracks in the fins because I've got carbon fins. So I check for cracks in that. And I always check my trigger mechs. You know, you don't oil your trigger mechs. It's all stainless steel. It's all usually, most of the high end brands have really good trigger mechanisms.
Hmm.
You just want to make sure you wash the crap out of it.
Yeah.
Anything you're dealing with salt water, just like on your boat, just like on your fishing reels, you got
Hmm.
to clean it off. And then
Yeah.
they usually last you a lifetime.
Yeah. Hit it with that salt's gone, man. I'm religious with that stuff all over my rods and reels, my net, even like the funniest little components that you'll see that used to rust out that don't anymore. Like, on a net, that's got that little press button.
Oh,
Uh,
yes.
and that thing always corrodes and breaks, and ever since I started using salt's gone, just like I noticed those little things, like you don't see that corrosion there. Little bolts on my boat that, in the past I've seen, bits of corrosion, like all that just kind of goes away. In fact, kind of a cool story this week. One of my coworkers has this giant, like 12-inch tall by, 4-inch, 5-inch wide drill bit head that came off of a drill ship. Somewhere in like Malaysia from ExxonMobil. And I think maybe not Malaysia, that might have been Chevron. I can't remember exactly which company it was, but it's the very tip where they actually drill down to start getting the oil. And this
Hmm.
thing has this like gnarly head on it with these like rotating, bits and then it has this huge, thread that goes onto the end of the pipe. And then there's like a motor that actually spins the end of the drill bit. And then the whole pipe, the whole shaft actually spins as well too. And the thing was obviously like rusty and ugly and dirty. And so we were like, hey, let's just try dunking the whole thing in Salt's Gone and see what happens. Put it in there overnight and it looks brand spanking new, like bright, shiny, clean metal, no
Yeah. How
surface
awesome
rust
is
at
that?
all. I'm like, dude, this is so cool. And he was like, man, I went and took a bunch of my father's old tools and stuck them in there too, and they look like new as well.
He's
I'm
got
like,
a 50
man,
gallon drum of salts gone with like
yeah, yeah.
40,000 different things in there.
Right. And full disclosure, anybody listening, obviously that's a horrific waste of the concentrate because the stuff is very expensive. It's designed to be, diluted and sprayed, but it was a special occasion, a special reason because we're trying to commemorate the thing, to show off here at the office. But anyways, so we've got our safety checklist for before we leave, and then again, leaving. What are some of the critical pieces of equipment I've got to have on my boat if I'm going to be going spearfishing?
Yeah. We talk about it all the time. 100% dive flag, 100% any kind of a trauma kit that you can have.
Okay. And
Yeah.
what's a
Big
trauma
old
kit?
trauma kit is, you've got tourniquet in there, you've got bandages, you've got gloves, you've got medical tape, gauze.
Got it.
It's just kind of a overblown
First
first
aid.
aid kit.
Right.
Yeah, but it's for, crazy incidents that can happen.
Yeah.
Many lives have been saved by a trauma kit from shark attacks or a barracuda bite, or you never know what can happen. Oh, the windmills, by the way, loaded with big barracudas, like
Ah,
6 footers.
interesting. I'd
Yeah,
really love to know if one of those is okay to eat up here. I know down in Florida you can't eat them because of what's in their, I guess in their flesh, the
they can get
bacteria.
cicatera.
Cicatera, that's what it is. But I'm really curious if it's the same up here. If anybody knows, please, if you're a fish scientist or, if you know the answer about safe to eat barracuda up here in Virginia waters, please reach out to the show and let us know. I'd be real curious. But at any rate, so trauma kit, dive flag. What's an appropriate size dive flag for out in the bay?
Mine is 2 foot by 3 foot.
Okay,
And to me, that's an appropriate size. There's
got it.
guys out there that have like, you know, 15-inch by 25-inch dive flags. I saw one the other day. We're rolling up, and he's on the bridge. So the boat's in between posts.
Hmm.
And I had absolutely no idea there was a diver in the water until I rolled up and saw the diver. I saw the diver before I saw the flag. That should
Ah,
never, ever happen.
yeah, that's a good point.
Absolutely should never happen.
Yeah, if you're fishing near, buoys, windmills, but especially around the poles, like a lot of your boat and even your flag could be cut off by the pole between you and the person going by. So a larger flag helps, ensure that they see you before potentially, chopping your leg off with an outboard motor. So dive flag, trauma kit. Is there any special like food or drink, because it is such a physical activity? Do you take anything special with you, or is it just kind of normal stuff?
Man, I snack. I
Okay.
snack throughout the day. I can't eat because you're diving and you're underwater and you got a little bit of pressure. It's not too much pressure because around the bridge, you really don't ever really need to dive past 40 feet. So it's not too much pressure.
Right.
Every now and then I'll really sink low to look for a big tog,
Hmm.
we'll be in 50, 55 feet, and I'll get, go to the bottom looking for a big fat daddy tog. But for the most part, 35 feet is really your max. So, but I can't eat a lot when I dive, and I have friends that are similar. They'll snack. I use honey stinger waffles, which are like a really, really delicious kind of a treat that I use. Same for cycling. When I'm out on a bike ride, I keep them in my pocket. Yeah,
Honey
giggle those.
stinger waffles.
Do you know how many people I
Oh
have got
my. What?
addicted to honey stinger waffles?
Ooh, an energy waffle. Very straightforward.
Yeah, exactly.
So they
They're
have
so good.
honey, vanilla, chocolate,
Oh man, they got all kind of flavors.
peanut butter chocolate, peanut butter strawberry. What?
Honey stinger, if you're out there and people start buying after this podcast, I want sponsorship.
Yeah, send it straight to Mike. You know what? The peanut butter and strawberry, I guess could be. I mean, I guess it tastes like a peanut butter and jelly sandwich for.
PBJ sandwich, maybe? I don't know.
This is the
I
best part. Let me read the description to you, Mike. This is the peanut butter strawberry honey stinger energy waffle plus nut butter.
There you go. Can't go wrong with some nut butter.
Trusted by 2,000 plus pro and college teams. And then there's a picture of a peanut on the front of it. Interesting. Honey stinger waffles. All right. I
They're
guess I'll have to add that to my Amazon cart because they
they're
do
so good.
look delicious. I gotta
Dude,
find out what
Austin will
this.
tell you I bring a dry bag.
Okay.
It's a clear dry bag, and in it is always Welch's fruit snacks,
Oh yeah.
Chomps, meat sticks,
Mm-hmm.
honey stinger waffles, and electrolyte packets to
Got it.
add to my water.
Got it. No wonder he invites you on the boat so much.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, dude, Austin doesn't eat at all.
No, I know. I don't think he eats. I rarely see him eat anything. And I think that I know like fishing with Alex in the past, like the rule was always like we don't really eat until we catch our first fish, and then like some other buddies, if we've got the the delicious Modelos on board. You're not allowed to crack a Modelo until the first fish is harvested.
There you
Um,
go. You got to
so
work for it.
lately we haven't been drinking any beer at all. I mean,
No
just
beer.
zero beer. There's a bunch of cold Modelos in my cooler. Please go help yourself because we are not drinking them.
Yeah,
Um,
it's been a crazy. It's been a lot more tough days than there have been good days. Where last year there were a lot more good days than there were tough days.
there's no doubt about it. I mean, it's really sobering to say this out loud because I thought about it the other day after having my first limit, and it was like July, whatever it was, 26th. It's now August 4th, and I have harvested three total cobias in this 2025 season. That's how
Yeah,
bad
I
it's
mean,
been.
I've gotten two.
Yeah, it's wild. So, man, always great catching up with you. Learning. I love getting to kind of like get the glimpse under the water and kind of, there's a whole other world down there. So getting to talk through the thermoclines, the different species, the difference between the windmills, and the poles. It's just always fun because it's definitely on my list of things that I want to do this year. So I know you
Well,
said
yeah. Hopefully, this
often I
Northeast
have to do
doesn't
it.
hurt us in the on the bridge.
Yeah, but I
Um,
know my CEO and his son definitely want to shoot one. I want to shoot one, so we got to get out there and do it once this weather breaks up. I at least want
yeah.
to say I tried. I don't have to be successful, but I at least want to say
Oh,
that I put on snorkel and fins, I jumped in the water with a gun, and that if it happened to swim by, it could have happened.
yeah. Worst, like I said, worst case, if the bridge doesn't heat up, we can still go out to the windmills. They're going to be out there for a while, and the more growth that gets on the other posts, the better it's going to get, and it's just going to keep getting better.
And I guess worst case scenario, we go out there. I put the fins on, I put the snorkel on, I get in the water with the gun, you know, and we kill nothing. I get to still hang out with you and eat honey stinger waffles.
That's it, man. You'll shoot some triggers or some. There's been some like probably 10, 12 pound spades out there.
Wow.
Yeah,
That
been some
that
gigantic spades. We normally don't go after spades at all, but if you're getting skunked and that's your last resort, that's fishing a barrel fish for you. And
yeah.
at least you get the shot off and get an idea of what it's like.
Yeah, it makes me think of a Dick Jagger song where it's like, I got 99 problems, killing fish ain't one. I guess around here, but you got 99 problems, catching spade ain't one.
That's
Because you
true.
go to the right spots and they're just going to be there. Anybody listening, if they're curious, it's not a joke. Dick Jagger is an artist name out of Pensacola, Florida. We talked about it last week with my buddy Christian. He sings some killer songs about fishing of all types, but mostly about cobia fishing. And it's a hoot. Some of the songs are really funny.
Yeah,
Um,
he's like the new version of the Weird Al.
yeah, but really hip and cool and like easy
Yeah.
to like makes you bob your head when you're hanging out listening to it. But if folks are interested in talking to you about mortgage advice, you've got all kinds of cool programs and ways to become a homeowner, or maybe they need a bucket, or they want to learn a little bit more about spearfishing. What's the best way for them to contact you and get in touch?
Yep. Call my cell 757-478-6122. Hit me up on the magical social medias, either Facebook, which is just Michael Hosang, or Instagram, which is Fishing for Mortgages. And then, of course, my website, which is fishingformortgages.com. And that's fishing, the number four, mortgages.com. Holler at me.
Awesome. Awesome. Cat Mike, thank you so much for being on the show, man. Always a treat.
All right. Take it easy, bud.
You too. Folks, that's going to wrap up a cool look under the surface with Captain Mike Hosang with Fishing for Mortgages. Learned so much today. Pickle buckets, honey stinger waffles with nut butter, all kinds of exciting stuff. Barracudas are out there. Guys, go get your fins and snorkels, get outfitted because this is a really cool way to experience this fishery. Stick around for a word from our sponsors, and we'll be talking with you real soon.
Stay put anchor. Serious shallow water anglers count on Stay Put Anchor to do exactly what the name says. Keep smaller boats locked in place. Fast, quiet, and without dropping a heavy, noisy hook. Built in the USA and designed for boats under 24 feet, Stay Put's solid fiberglass pole spikes pair with marine-grade bow, stern, or drill-free motor mounts for quick installation. So more time spent fishing, less rigging. Choose 6-foot to 12-foot pole options and the versatile super handle to stake out on flats, sandbars, or in the pads. Affordable, dependable, and proven by anglers nationwide. Learn more or build a custom kit at stayputanchor.com.
The days of heading out and blindly looking for good fishing areas are pretty much over. Don't waste time and money on fuel searching for fish. What you need are the most recent, highest resolution images to not only know where to go, but where not to go. The knowledge provided by today's technology is critical when planning an offshore fishing trip. So make the choice that captains all up and down the East Coast make and choose Hilton's Real-Time Navigator. The easy-to-use interface and excellent customer service will have you on the fish every time you go. Check them out at hiltonsoffshore.com. Hooked on fishing? Then you're part of the local community that Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle cares about serving and giving back to, providing you with the right selection for each season's target species. They're your one-stop shop to gear up with the best bait, tackle, and insider tips to catch your next trophy fish. You can fuel up right out front on the water and then chat with the crew inside for hot tips on where they're biting. So swing by today. Long Bay Point Bait and Tackle, where your fishing adventures start and finish with your trophy catch on their scales. All right, y'all, that's going to wrap it up this week. Please subscribe, rate, and review wherever you listen to podcasts. And remember, to get your free APCO Camo Sunglasses Cleaner Cloth, text the acronym LCBFR to 779-345-2918 to get your promo code and be added to our email list so we can send you the new show each week. You guys keep on whacking them and be safe out there.